Hello, welcome to another episode of the Chaplain's Den. So, Chaplain's Den is just a resource where if people have a question, hopefully I can answer it in a simple, honest way. I find a lot of the time as a chaplain that when people get to know you, or if you deal with people quite often, they like to ask you questions. They're like, I'm wondering about this, and you always get the sense. I know with religion, we're always kind of hesitant to talk about it. People don't want to go too deep about it, especially in public a lot of the time. So a lot of the time, people will, they'll ask the one question, and they have a lot more. I mean, we've all been there. We've got just a mass of questions and doubts and issues. So it's kind of a resource where hopefully some of these are questions that you may have and they benefit you. So somebody had asked me the question, can Christians learn from non-Christians? Basically, are we able to learn from them, and is it right for us to learn from them? Well, of course, right away you have to look at it and you have to say, well, obviously you have to be careful in the same way as anything. You can learn. Everybody can have positive attributes, can have some really good ideas. Anybody who has life experience, especially, is just phenomenal way to learn. I love hearing stories, if it's Christian people or non-Christian people, about life and aspects that they've gone through and how they dealt with them. But yeah, definitely. Definitely there's people that I guess when I look at it, I think, you have to know you can learn from them in an aspect. You can admire an aspect about them. That doesn't mean that you have to take on the whole quality of that person's life. I've talked to addicts that have had, they're able to make some very good points. They're able to make some very good points about issues in the church. They're able to make some very good points about people. Some of the aspects of their life, there's some of the aspects of their life that they do very well at, and of course there's others that they have flaws. So when you look at people, think of an example. Last night we took our little boy. He's just 6. We took him to his first ever circus. Now it's not a huge circus. It's like a smaller one. There might be 30 people, but what's cool about it is to see the amount of passion that these people put into it. You see somebody come out. Somebody might be selling tickets, and then later on they're doing a performance as a clown, and then later on they're helping other people set up for their thing. Probably long before we got there, they're helping to, they might be like helping to set up the popcorn, or they might be setting up the chairs. These are people giving their all for something that they really, really enjoy, that they're really, really passionate about. And I think of an example. There's a girl that I've talked to a few times who is an artist, and the type of jobs that she works are things that, she works at one place where after she's done working, she's welcome to basically use it as a studio where she can do some of her art. They kind of have that agreement. And I think of I was watching a documentary on wrestling, and a guy was talking about, like he gets up early in the morning and goes to the gym, and then he eats super clean, and he goes to work, and then at lunchtime, like he eats a really good healthy meal, goes for a run, finishes his day at work. He'll drive 2-3 hours to some wrestling event and wrestle, and he'll probably get paid less than what he's put into for gas. But this is somebody that's willing to dedicate themselves to something that they're really passionate about, and you really see that. Um, I have, for example, a pen that this is a pen that I saw this guy online that does these hand carved pens. And when you hear him talk about, I can really admire it, but it's not my thing. I don't have any desire to make pens. But when he's talking about it and the wood and everything, you can tell how passionate he is about it. And that's kind of something that you can really admire that. So, for example, this is a pen made out of olive wood from Jerusalem, and there's all kinds of different types of pens he makes, and all kinds of different types of wood. So I got one Christmas time. I got one for myself, and one for my brother, and one for my father. Um, but there's things like that. It When I look at it, I can say, okay, so here's these circus people. They're traveling around. They have no idea from day to day how much money they're going to make. There's a lot of pros and cons to that lifestyle, but they're all in for their passion. And the wrestler, he's eating clean and taking care of himself, and probably not getting as much sleep as he should, and everything that he does is dedicated to being a wrestler. That's his passion. The girl is committed to her art. That's her passion. She's willing to put in the extra time and regulate her life around that. Well, me as a Christian, that's supposed to be what defines me. Is that what defines me? Is that really, am I passionate enough about it? There's so many Christians that are like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. You look back 20 years in their life before they were a Christian, and there's no change. There's nothing that and I think any one of us as Christians can learn from that, because you say, okay, am I putting stuff aside to make time to read my Bible every day? I'll tell you that I thoroughly, every time I read my Bible, I get better from it. It makes my day better. It just fuels me. But at the same time, there's days where why am I not reading my Bible? Why am I getting involved in other things? There's so many excuses why we don't go to church, and the thing is, that's not a big sacrifice. I mean, we all know better. We all have our reasons that are absolutely true. I love sleeping because I stay up late. It's very hard for me to get up in the morning for church, and being a pastor, it's no different. There's a lot of pastors that are like, I remember a joke where the guy's complaining to his wife. He's complaining to his wife about how much he doesn't want to go to church, and some of the people are jerks, and how hard it is to deal with people and getting up in the morning and everything else. And then at the end, of course, she's like, well, you got to go because you're the pastor. That's kind of the joke of it. But yeah, I mean, how much do we dedicate our life, if we're Christians? How much, if that's what we're passionate about, are we really passionate about it? Am I revolving my life around my faith? Because you can see that, if you ask the wrestler, everything that he does, he's making extra time to go to the gym. He's making sure that he's eating right. He's doing everything physically that he needs to do. He's giving up his free time for travel time. Everything is built around that, right? So if you defined him, are you a wrestler? He might not be making as much money as somebody else. He might not be super successful as somebody else, but he's absolutely a wrestler. That's what defines them. The circus people are traveling, and everything that they do. I mean, that they're rehearsing and practicing and practicing, and like I say, they're all helping each other with everything that they do. Um, what are we willing to do for our faith? So I look at people like that. I really admire passion in people. You see musicians that, man, they're just practicing and practicing and listening to other people play music and see what they can learn from it. And what defines us? We all have stuff that we're really interested in, and it doesn't bother us to sacrifice for those things because it's stuff that we really enjoy. Are we really enjoying our faith? I mean, that's something that we really have to look at and say, am I building my faith up in this? Oh, I got to do this and I got to do this and I got to do this. Are we making it like school basically, right? I mean, some people do that. Some people I know sometimes I organize my day and I try to do that, and sometimes it's a pain in the butt because I try to get doing things in an order that, well, that's just the order that, that I thought of things or that I wrote things down. It doesn't have to be done in that order. I mean, if you are a person who likes to, some people get up before work. I know one girl who gets up before work and has a cup of tea and reads her Bible. I mean, that's great. Now, for somebody else, that might be the biggest pain in the butt in the world, and you're not going to enjoy reading your Bible because you have a hard time getting up in the morning, and you're just not going to be mentally focused. But maybe at lunchtime, that would be the time that, I've got a half hour for lunch. I'm going to take 10 minutes and read my Bible, or whatever it would may be. So are we incorporating that into our life? I think when we look at other people, we think of like, we've all had good teachers and we've all had bad teachers. There's some people in my life that have been, they've had an impact in my life, and later on it's really cool to find out that they found their faith later on. Or sometimes you didn't know they were Christians, and then you find out later that they are Christians, but they had a big impact in your life. But at the same time, there's been people that have had a big impact in my life that are not Christians. But there's things that I really like about those people. I mean, everyone's got good and bad attributes, absolutely. So when you say, can we learn from non-Christians? I think absolutely. It's the same as, we all know, for example, that there's Christians that can teach us some bad things. They can really get us off track. So if we look at celebrities today, there's things that we can absolutely admire. Um, Give me an example. Like, okay, so I think of my favorite blues singer, BB King. I mean, he was a strong Christian man. Now there's aspects of his life that he'll be like, okay, I did that and that's not good, you know. So yeah, can you love his music? Can you admire the story of his life? I mean, he's an extremely hardworking guy, really, really, really prided himself on that. Phenomenal guitar player, taught himself, which is why he wound up with such a unique style. Really things that you can admire about the guy, but then there's things that even he himself is like, yeah, that's not good. I'm not going to pretend as a Christian, I'm not going to pretend that that's good. As even a non-Christian, I'm not going to pretend that that's good. Like, that's just, things that he gets caught up in his life, and of course we all have those things too. So yeah, I would just give a warning, same as when you're dealing with Christians. Listen to their advice, see how they do things, take everything with a grain of salt. You don't want to become that person, but there's something that you can learn from that person. Non-Christians, it's the same thing. You don't want to become that person, but there's things that you can learn from that person, absolutely. So I hope that helps with your journey. It's all part of trying to improve ourselves and get stronger in our faith. So anything that we can learn, I mean, we can see from, you can see from animals aspects of love and devotion from dogs that people would be lucky to have a lot of the time. So can you learn from other people? Absolutely. So I hope that helps, and God bless, and good luck with your journey.